Hey there, ghouls and ghosts. Welcome to Seven Scorpion Tarot. I am your host with the most, and I want to welcome you to tonight's reading. So, tonight it's going to be a little bit different, all things considered that are going on uh, in the States right now. So, if you don't want to hear about political stuff, I'd say click off now because I'm going to chit chat about that a little bit before we get into the reading. Um, I am heartbroken. I've really been struggling today with how things turned out. Um, I am actually shocked at the results that we watched somebody who openly admitted, casually, mockingly, that he's essayed women, and we elected him again. As a survivor, that is pretty hard to swallow. It is incredibly hard for me to give me a second. So back to what I was saying. Um, it's really difficult for me to look at all the work that I've put in to recovery and look at the journey and the path that I still have to go down to all the things that I still need to talk about, that I still have never uttered to another human being. And then we turn around and elect somebody like that. To say that I'm triggered is an understatement. Um, I still felt the need to do a reading though, and I chewed on it as to even how to approach this. Um, but I feel like collectively we need some aftercare. We need to absorb what has occurred so that we can move forward. Um, I had thought about maybe doing a self-care reading in general, and then I thought about doing a significator reading with the tower, because that is how I feel right now. This is very much a tower moment. Uh, that's not what I want to focus on, though. What I want to focus on is what comes after the tower. So, the star card. The star is what I've pulled out for a significator for tonight's reading. And I really like this depiction of the star. This is the Antique Anatomy Tarot. Looks like these are, what was that, 9? Can I count? 8? So it should be 8. So 8 vertebra. And that looks like, it's been a while since I've taken an anatomy class. These look like neck vertebra. I could be wrong. But I like that the hand is reaching up. So pointing up. It just, it is very hopeful. And hope is really hard to come by right now. So I didn't want to focus on the tower. I wanted to focus on hope. But, and rather, I don't want to be contradictory. Um, we still need to process our feelings. That I'd want to steer clear of any sort of, what do they call it? Spiritual bypassing, toxic positivity, things like that. I think it's really, really important to process our feelings now so that when the time comes to step up, those lingering feelings don't cloud our judgment. It kind of reminds me of a quote from my favorite movie, from Princess Mononoke, where there's a really interesting distinction if you watch the movie in English and Japanese. One of the main characters, Ashitaka, he says in English, "I came here to see with eyes unclouded by hate." And in Japanese, the line is, "I came to see with eyes unclouded." The only way to do that is to gain mastery over our emotions. And we have to process them in order to do that. So, we're not doing mythology this time, but I have some song recommendations because that's how I process my emotions, is through music. So I've got some angry songs and some songs to conjure some tears if need be. um, so Miracle by A Day to Remember. I really like the line in there that says, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper, my will is stronger." I feel like that is a really important line right now just because of the ugliness of the situation. The next one is by the same band. It's a song called Resentment. That song has really struck a chord with me. Um, in one of the songs that I use to process, like, it really resonates for me with PTSD, just in that experience of it, of being stuck in memories on replay. It's one of the lines from the song. The next three songs are, these are like guaranteed I'm gonna cry songs, at least for me. Lost It All by Black Veil Brides, the live at the Troxy version on YouTube. It's so, ugh, oh, so good. Ascensionism by Sleep Token. I recommend listening to it twice because it never hurts enough the first time, at least in my experience. Snuff, the acoustic cover. I think that's from it was like a live show in London, so by Corey Taylor. The original is Slipknot, but that acoustic cover is just Corey Taylor. Um, and then Sanctify Me by In This Moment. That's to get the angry going again, to pull you out of the sadness. I really, really like that song. I played the music video to death when it first came out. It really touches on that, like the persecution wound, the witch wound. And Who Is Gonna Be the One by Ginger, the concert version on YouTube. I really like the line in there, "I'm gonna be the one." I feel like that is a really important sentiment right now, of we can't wait for somebody else to step up. I don't know what's coming. Um, But I do know there's going to be personal responsibility and personal accountability for all of us in how we proceed. Because for so many of us to have less rights now than what we were born with is a travesty. It's going to be a tough road. Taking care of yourself is going to be really, really important in these upcoming years. And if you are appalled enough to feel like leaving, to feel like emigrating from this country, please don't. Because you are the person we need here to help us. Because you care enough to leave. So, we need some hope. So we'll do, because the hope might be lingering somewhere in the shadow for many of us. It might go into hiding. And there's strength to be found in the shadow, in us, in the shadow people, in the occultists, in the diviners, in the witches, in LGBT, in the women, in anybody of any persuasion that wishes to stand up for the oppressed. There are more of us than them. It doesn't feel like it, but there are. So take time to rest. We'll get some cards. We'll get a reading. And just keep putting one foot in front of the other. We've got a mountain to climb. We can do it together. So, let's see. So we'll go down into the self. What's at the root of hope? Maybe how we get up to hope. Going to explore the shadow a little bit. Explore the ego. Ego might be running a little hot with anger and things like that right now. So let's get into it. I know it's a heavy opener that I started with, but wow. we gotta talk about our feelings, man. I'm a big person on smells. That's what I split on. Oh, the Chariot and the Hermit. Interesting. I really like this Chariot card. How cool is that? But I'm a big person on smells. Like, they help ground me when I'm caught in like a rumination cycle. Uh, this morning, like, I made a really specific point to like use my clarifying shampoo and conditioner that's like it's rosemary mint, so it's got really nice like strong smell. That I love that minty smell, and it makes me feel so clean. And I've got, it's the Dr. Teal's, the Epsom salt body wash, the eucalyptus spearmint. So good. So use that, really get that minty, clean feeling just like all over my body. And I used charcoal face wash instead of like the soothing oatmeal face wash that I typically use. Like, just get all the dirt out. Get it out of my body. Gosh dang it. I found that helpful. And I'm a big fan of shower bombs too. I didn't use one this morning, but. So the Three of Pentacles in the reverse. So maybe an unwillingness to work with others is blocking our way to hope. Oh, interesting. Okay, so the hand like mirrors. I don't know if you can see that. But this gesture is also on this card on the Three of Pentacles. Very synchronous. So the symbols here, in the center, we've got a skull and a snake. And then looks like scorpion, snake. Oh my god. Am I that old? Do I need new glasses? I don't know what that is. That looks like another snake and a salamander. Hmm. So that's kind of screaming temporal lobe to me. Uh, our more basal urges or basal way of thinking getting in the way of collaboration, getting in the way of cooperation because we're too pissed to see the opportunity. Maybe. Because the Three of Pentacles in the Rider Waite, it's about like teamwork. Because there's what, two people standing off the side and then one person like the artisan, the worker, like working on the archway that they're under the church. Or are you unwilling to put in work to a specific institution? Which rightfully so right now. Like I I think I would make a great survivalist and could move into the woods with sufficient shelter right now because it's like 25 degrees and like 8 inches of snow right now. I think that's an exaggeration. Maybe like 6, but whatever. Uh, I have to brush up on my flora too. There's a lot of flowers in this deck that I'm not familiar with. So let's get a card for the shadow. So teamwork blocking the way to hope, or an unwillingness to collaborate blocking the way to hope. Oh, there's the Chariot again. And it's in reverse, so a blocked journey, a blocked way forward. While I was muttering about this being blocked. I think that's what I was muttering about. I can never remember like what I said just seconds ago when I'm doing this. It's weird. I think that's a deer skull. It looks like a deer skull. Or it might be horses, since they're horses in the Rider Waite. That looks right. So cool how they're connected like that. But so this would be, because I treat this as like the personal unconscious and then the collective unconscious, like getting to those different layers of it. So something blocked a way forward, blocked in the personal unconscious. And, or no, they're sphinx. They're not horses. Why did I think they were horses? Maybe I was thinking of a different deck. Um, hmm. Okay, so that's definitely giving me riddle vibes, like very sphinx like, that it's trickery. There's some sort of trickery here. I want something for clarification on that. Okay. 3 is kind of a lot, but we're going with it. So the Tower in reverse, the Hanged Man, and Death. Are these in order? No. No, they're not. Okay. But they're all in reverse, and all major arcana. Whoa. Okay. So a blocked journey with a tower in reverse with a an unwelcome change that brings a new perspective with transformation we're resistant to. Goodness gracious. So this is giving me like this is not a change we want. This might be a change we need. And that feels really bad to say right now. Because I, like many others, wanted to see progressive change, constructive change, not destructive change. But being unwilling to move with the change as it presents itself blocks the way forward. Oof. The personal unconscious is very, very unhappy right now, understandably so. There's going to be a lot of stuff to work through. Take your time with it. We'll get placement for a card for the ego placement, so I treat this as like the ego and then the persona. And I'm going off of the Jungian model, not the Freudian model with like, I think he does it, what, ego and id. I think that's what Freud did, was ego, id, super ego. And I'm more of the Jungian persuasion. So we get one for the ego. And I don't know if Carl Jung adopted that id concept from Freud or not, but I don't recall id on his map of the soul. I could be wrong though. So the personal ego. What's going on in the ego? Wow, lots of major arcana. Okay. The Lovers. Nice anatomical heart here. That looks like it might be diseased in the ventricles here. I noticed in one of the other cards, I can't remember which one, but there was a skull that had some sort of like, it looked like bone cancer. I was kind of hoping for descriptions in the book as to what was being depicted, like anatomically. Um, but I digress. So the Lovers, so a choice over in the ego. This immediately, like what just came to mind was the Matrix. Do you want to take the red pill or the blue pill? So do you want to see things as they are, this big major arcana energy, or do you want to take the blue pill and pretend like everything's fine? Hmm. I wonder. I want a little more on this because we've cast our votes. It's on the bottom. The Knight of Cups. Hmm. So we've cast our votes already. So we've made a choice. But I guess, are we willing to digest the implications of the choice? Or what will the choice point be? Are we just toiling over? Oh, hey, there's that card with the looks like bone cancer. Um, hmm. So there's a Five of Pentacles. It's coins in this deck. But so we've got two hands and 2 feet and a skull. Interesting. So the Five of Pentacles and the Rider Waite, they're outside of a church. And one person is on crutches, the other one is bound up. And it's also calling back to Princess Mononoke as well, because there's some lepers in that movie. And it's on HBO. It's on the Studio Ghibli hub. If you want to check it out. But there are lepers in there that they've been shunned by society completely. But this woman, it's an interesting um, examination of like gray morality, because this woman, she, gosh dang it, why am I blanking on her name? It's the character that Minnie Driver voiced. I can't remember her name. Whatever. It's the woman who runs Irontown. But she took in the lepers who were shunned by society, but she took them in and now they're producing weapons. So, yes, they have homes and food and water and medical care and everything they ever need, but they're destroying the forest. So there's like a new layer of conflict in that. because they're the way the weapons connect to destroying the forest is like the trees have to be uprooted in order to get to the metal and the sand to produce bullets for the weapons and stuff like that. Um, so that's an interesting combination with the Lover's card. Do we choose our morals? Or do we choose the cushy offer of make weapons? Make love, not war. It's the Lover's card. um, Making war and not love, that could lead to a Five of Pentacles, lead to ruin, lead to being left out in the cold, being left out of whatever place you regard as holy. Interesting. So let's get for the collective unconscious, what's going on with all of us, or what projections maybe to look out for in ourselves and others. Seven of Pentacles. What is that? Patience? It doesn't seem like the worst projection in the entire world. It's interesting how expressive these skulls are. To me, they're kind of like they're jibber jabbering. And this looks like a child's skull. These might be irises too. It came out in reverse. So, okay, so it's in the collective unconscious position. So the seeds we planted didn't bear fruit. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense right now. I want to get. I feel like there's more there. Let's see. I don't know what though, because when I saw the seven, it was like Seven of Cups, but it said coins. So I went straight to illusion. So maybe jumping to conclusions. Oh, so it's the patience card. So patience in reverse. We're lacking patience collectively. Also makes sense. I, personally feel very impatient about and disgruntled about the way things have gone. Let's get another one. And I can't remember if I mentioned this or not. I was a double major in anthropology and biology before I switched my major to something that I could pay rent with. That's why I'm so interested in the bones and stuff. Let's see. Ooh, got a couple. Knight of Rods, so wands, and the Devil. Ooh, and it was hiding behind the Knight of Rods. So the Knight of Rods, is he? I think he's the one that has salamanders on his garb somewhere. That would make sense because fire. So maybe hasty action of ideas, or ideas are leading us to take hasty action, and the devil is lurking behind that. So impulse, like primal impulses, moving without thinking, being swept away by that fiery energy in us of wanting a better outcome, which I totally get. But rushing in without taking pause and really evaluating, is this the action I want to take? Is this the speech I want to escape my lips? You know, um, because this is no longer like, oh, LOL, we're arguing at Thanksgiving. Um, this is like women's rights have been taken away, and like, don't forget about the brown people that were put in cages at the border, you know. And I'm not going to apologize for speaking truthfully about what's happening to people in this country. Um, our country has sterilized women against their will, and women of color, Hispanic women. And then we turn around and take that choice away. Like, this choice has been totally extracted from women. Like, things are just being done to us. That's going to lead to some really fiery devil energy. One of my comfort shows is Lucifer on Netflix with Tom Ellis, Dreamboat. And his depiction of the devil is really interesting in that he doesn't persuade people to do anything. All he does is present them with choice and just lets it happen. And it's much more lighthearted than what's going on now. I'm just still trying to digest what it's like to be a woman in this country. So let's get a card for the persona, because this will be how we're presenting to the outside world. So it might be a word of caution if we're pissed. And I'm not saying, like, don't be mad. Be mad. Like, be as mad as you need to be. Understand the implications of expressing that anger. I'm not saying in any way it's wrong to express that anger or don't express that anger. Just choose your venues wisely of where that anger goes. And you might need to find healthy outlets for that anger. I would recommend maybe some axe throwing. That's a really fun activity. And what's that other thing? Rage rooms. I haven't done one of those yet, but I'm definitely thinking about it now. Especially one that lets me pick the playlist and I can throw on some like Lamb of God or something like that. Just like go crazy. I think we all need that. So 10 of Pentacles, and it kind of like did its thing and it came out sideways. So I'm going to read this as in motion because this is actually what I would like to see on that outward persona aspect. And there's a lot of cool imagery here. Ooh, one with flesh too. Looks like another child skull. But this Ten of Pentacles, so this would be like, I mean, what's hanging in the balance right now? You know, the Ten of Pentacles is the one of the most happiest, prosperous cards in the deck. And we still have an opportunity to get there. You know, as bleak as things feel right now, there are still glimmers in our history of slavery being abolished, of women's right to vote being recognized, of persons of color, their right to vote being recognized, and their right to vote without being taxed, without a poll tax. There's stories of hope in so many cultures. If you can't find that hope here, look to stories from our neighbors on the south, from our neighbors in the north. They're there. Those stories are there. Those stories of resilience that even though the election turned out the way it did, there are still people immigrating to this country every day, still coming here for hope of a better tomorrow. We have a responsibility to ourselves, to the people that seek refuge here, to make this a good place to be. And we can. It's going to be hard. And we'll never get there if we give up hope. So let's get a couple oracle cards, you know, something to meditate on, to get this Ten of Pentacles in the upright, to get that moving the way we want it to go. I mean, at least that's the way I want it to go. Upright. And, you know, on the journey to the 10, there's the 3, there's the 5, there's the 7. There's a path. It might be hard to see right now, but there's a path. Us shadow people, we know that all too well, that we can find the way in the dark. Alchemy. That's a great card for all this. To transmute your feelings, to bring those together, to bring a little magic into it. So this says, the frequency of alchemy activates our magical ability and remembrance of the magic that we all hold inside. Each one of us has the potential to access the ancient knowledge that allowed the true alchemist to perform the miracles of transmutation. The other show that's coming to mind, another one of my favorites, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Watch the Brotherhood version, not the just straight Full Metal Alchemist. I mean, that's just my preference, but Brotherhood, I like that one quite a bit more. That is a heavy anime. It does have political themes, things like that. It might be a little bit cathartic right now to help kind of process, move some of those feelings through. It's a beautiful card with the purple and the like reddish orange and the yellow. It kind of vaguely resembles like Metatron's cube. It's not quite as intricate. A little bit, but and it's number 8 here. So, and I mean turning lead into gold. That's a really good metaphor right now, is because that's like what we need is turn this lead into gold. And that takes work. It takes that fire within us, and that fire needs to be used appropriately so it doesn't turn into devil energy. And just devil energy, and like, because the devil card is like the addiction card, and addiction doesn't have to be relegated to substances. You can be addicted to anger, uh, and not even necessarily in addiction in like the traditional sense, but in that you have really strong neural pathways to fight mode. That's something that I struggle with a lot personally. In the like PTSD mode progression, because I have complex trauma, so I deal with the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn um, progressions or modes, I guess. And my strongest one, my most prevalent one, is fight. That's where I go first, or that's where my brain goes first. It's kind of an interesting distinction in the semantics of it, but um, that fight mode in me is so strong, or it was so strong, that I'd be so reactive that it would happen before I'd even realize it was happening. Like those reactions would come out. And through that process of alchemizing our feelings, experiences, things like that, and you can put it in any terms you want. Alchemy, EMDR, however, whatever works for you to calm the beast. It's so hard to take pause in that moment of reactivity. As there's a quote, um, is it a Buddhist quote, maybe? Something I've heard that I'm sure has been bastardized a million times over. But it's like a moment of pause in a moment of anger can save you 1,000 moments of sorrow. Something like that. And that's a really difficult skill to master, especially in an emotionally charged backdrop. So if you must, and I encourage it, unsubscribe from the news. That will help give you the space that you'll need for things like meditation, um, hot showers with whatever good, smelly good products that you have, anything to create some distance, some emotional distance between you and everything that's going on right now. So let's get a symbol over here on the ego side. Maybe the symbol will It could be like a synchronicity. Like it might be something that you'll start to see pop up, something you're already seeing pop up, something to meditate on. Staticky. Maybe this symbol is what unlocks the Ten of Pentacles in the upright. Safe travel. Maybe we need to take a break, take a little vacation, find a cute little spot to stay. And it doesn't need to be super lavish, whatever you do to give yourself a break. And if you can make it lavish, then more power to you. But maybe a little getaway to the mountains, like a little day hike or something. Uh, of course, be careful. And like when I go hiking, I like to hike alone. So if you do that, tell someone where you're going and when to expect you back. Don't just go off into the mountains by yourself. I mean, without some sort of preparation, like letting someone know, especially particularly in winter. Uh, it is deceptively cold up there. And maybe, like, I've taken trips to neighboring states and whatnot before, and if you can swing it, like, do a 3-day trip, to there are national parks everywhere. Some of them do reservation systems now, so check it out, like, before you go, like, whatever uh, the park service website on there. I want to see what the book says about this. Safe travel. A trip, a journey, or even a simple change of scenery is upon you. Meditate on this before you start a new adventure, move to a new home, or take a trip. Symbol, safe passage. Norse Viking rune for safe passage on land or sea. Also grants protection for those in the air and during astral travel. Hmm. So maybe this is like a little bit of reassurance that even though we have a difficult journey ahead of us with all this, there's still hope for the outcome. This, right now, this is a moment in time. This is not a final result. Yeah, I think that's enough said on that. So let's get a little self-care and set you free. It's been a lot. It's been a little heavy little conversation. So, yeah. Game night. With friends, by yourself, Uh, man, what? I need to actually sit down and play a video game all the way through instead of doing the, like, adult 9 to 5 thing. Like I'll play a bit and then, a couple months later, it's like, can I get the tutorial for the controls for this game that I started and then got distracted because life? But a game night is a great idea, something to take your mind off things. A rounds of Cards Against Humanity with friends, that'll set you right. That'll set your mood right for sure. Let's grab one more from the ivory deck. Here we go. Oh, hey, Lucifer. We were talking about that. How synchronous. Oh, such a good show. And everybody on like that main cast, oh, they are very attractive. Like Lucifer and Mazikeen and yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Um but really interesting examination into the humanity of the devil. That's a reason I've seen it half a dozen times, if not more. Like since I don't even know how when that show ended. It's been a minute, but I frequently just like put that on because I've seen it so much. Um, yeah, it just gave me a new perspective, a new way of looking at the devil. Of he's not this agent of evil or agent of chaos. He's an agent of choice. And oh man alive, that is what we need right now is choice. So overall, this has been a heavy day. I hope that you can find some rest, some calmness, some stillness in your mind. Those songs at the beginning, uh, if you need to get some tears moving, check some of those out. And no shame in needing to cry about this. I was crying earlier, like on and off all day. I've been struggling with the tears because I have things to do, and I'm like, I'm gonna take a break to go cry. Okay, uh, and that's just the nature of things right now. So no shame in the feelings game. Take it easy on yourself. I hope this helps. I hope this resonates, and if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.